Welcome, everyone. This is one of the episodes on grief.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Kimura Podcast. I'm here with my friend Walter,
Hey everyone.
who has done a podcast with me in the past
A
on the
few moons
hero's
ago.
journey.
Part one with still
Maybe like a
unreleased
year
parts.
or more ago.
And then the
But
last time we recorded prior to that was like another year, so I think we're actually on cue. We're releasing yearly podcasts, but we're trying to make it more frequent.
exactly. But we do have promised people that we were going to do part 2 of that one. But today is actually just going to be focused on grief.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Walter has, I guess, a lot of concepts and questions for me on grief, since now I specialize as a bereavement specialist.
I guess like first and foremost, how would you define grief? I think that's a good place to start.
How do I define grief? Grief is an experience of love. We grieve people in our lives because we love them so much. So the reasons why we grieve so deeply, it's because it's all this love with nowhere to go. So that's why we grieve our person so deeply.
There was something that I was listening to and reading about while I was like just putting myself in the right frame of mind for this, and there were two things that came up when it comes to grief. One of it is more so it's like there's like in a way thanks. It's a severance of a connection. And the other definition I saw was a shattering of reality. And I can think of a few like brief examples. It's like when it comes to severance, it doesn't necessarily have to be marked by the death of someone, but it could be the death of a relationship. So it's a severance of connection, not necessarily a permanent severance from the person. But then it's also the shattering of reality. And what comes to mind for that is how maybe international incidents or global disasters or events that happen in life that really challenge our conceptualization of the world and what we believed of it.
Yeah, so I think a lot of things that you mentioned are things that we cannot control. And I often go into this frame of mind that death is not something we can control. Whether it's a natural disaster, a terminal illness, a sudden death, even died by suicide is not something that we can control. And a lot of the times we think that we are immortal and that we will never die. And that, I believe, is the stigma that people have about death, of how people really think or really believe that they will never die or that someone will never die. And that's one of the biggest mistakes, cultural mistakes that we've made as a society, to think that we are immortal, to think that we will save ourselves from natural disasters. That you survived one, that is amazing, but those that didn't survive couldn't control their death. And so a lot of people go into this concept thinking that, oh, that's never going to happen to me, or that's never going to happen to the person I love, or we go into this never or this always, right? And we don't really address the reality that death does come and that people do die and that we're not immortal. And so I think what's permanent is that death is permanent, that our physical bodies will no longer be physically here, and that's permanent. But what I can say about grief is that grief is constantly changing. So the the initial stages of grief are very acute and very painful. And at the beginning, it feels very intense, but it doesn't mean that it will stay the same for a period of time. It means that it will change. So I often introduce this notion that, yes, at the beginning, grief is really painful, and we really do struggle through those feelings of grief and missing our person physically here. But I want everyone to keep in mind that that will change. The way you feel in this moment doesn't mean that you will feel like that in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. But I do like to say that grief is also permanent, that there's nothing about grief that we need to fix or change or move on from. I say moving on from is a stigma. People thinking that they are going to move on, that's a stigma, because at the end it's love. We love our person, and we will love our person for the rest of time. So we will grieve that person for the rest of time. That it will feel the same? No, it won't. It won't feel the same. Right now it feels one way. It doesn't mean that it will feel the same later. So I liked, and there's this connection piece that you were mentioning. What was the second?
The severance of connection, or
Yeah.
the shattering of a reality.
Yeah, it is a shattering of a reality if you think that death doesn't come. But for those who live every day acknowledging that death does come, it might not be a shattering of reality. It might be a normal thing. But only if we normalize the experience of death, it wouldn't be a shattering of reality.
That makes me think of the term memento mori, to remember death, to think about death. But I could imagine how that could be scary for some people, for a lot of people actually, because how easy is it to turn on the news, and if we're confronted with a topic that we don't like, then we change the channel. So what makes it such a topic that we want to avoid?
I think it's the unknown. I think people toggle with this idea in grief of beliefs, of not bearing the fact that they don't know how to feel because they're not in control anymore. It's this piece of like uncontrollable effect of not being able to check in on your person. It's the factor that we want to keep controlling or being part of a person's life, when in reality, that role no longer serves you anymore. When in reality, it's not your choice to continue in that role. It is almost sometimes it feels like a forced upon you to surrender the control that we have with that person, and to surrender to the fact that they have died. So, yeah, for a lot of people, it's this piece of, I miss my person very deeply. Absolutely. And you will always miss your person very deeply. But in this moment in time, for example, for those caregivers, those people that took care of their person for long periods of time in a terminal illness, and they spend day in and day out taking care of them. For example, for those caregivers, they have to learn how to hang their caregiver cape, like their cape of a hero, and hang that cape and acknowledge and surrender that role that they no longer have. And so I like to say that, like, for those caregivers, hang your cape because you did an incredible job, because you did the best that you could, and you no longer have control over that role anymore. So for their process is learning how to live without the role of a caregiver anymore, and to learn how to care for themselves because they've been caring for someone for such a long time. So that, I think that's the hardest part for that particular person, right? That caregiver. For someone else who had sudden death, that looks different for them, right? And like sometimes sudden death brings this realization of identity. Who am I now? Who am I going to be without this person? And so it's learning how to be again, how to live with grief, how to be how to live this new life without them physically here.
In a way, it's almost like being confronted with a void, where there was something that was once taking space. It's no longer there. Now they're confronted with something that used to hold the space of something they deeply cared about or someone they deeply loved. So now they have to confront the idea that there's nothing there, and what does it mean to them?
There's nothing physically there. I always mention the word physically there because at the end of the day, that person is still in your mind, is still in your feelings, is still in your memories, right? But they're not physically there, but they're there and very vividly there, mentally and emotionally. So it's this contradictory, like your brain is trying to comprehend that their physical form is not here, but they're everywhere else. So I like to give the example or propose the perspective that the person, the relationship and the connection between your person doesn't end. It has expanded. It has changed. So I like to grab like a tissue box and I say the box is the physical form. The tissue is who they are, the essence of them or the spirit of them, if you want to call it that. And then now they no longer have their tissue box and they're everywhere else. So the tissue is in everywhere. And so now that is in the things that you do, in the experiences that you have, in the people that you talk to. It's in the dreams you have. Like they're everywhere. And it's learning how to live with them differently. They have expanded.
It speaks about how profoundly influential someone or something was or is in our lives.
Absolutely.
So I love the examples that you brought up, but something that comes to mind is like, not necessarily there's like a streamlined, in a way, manifestation of different stages of grief, but could you give us an example and walk us through the different stages, if there are, of that process?
Okay. So I like to describe it as a phase of grief. So the first phase, for those who had a person with terminal illness or saw the decline of their person, those people participated in something that we call anticipatory grief. Anticipating the death of your person. Anticipatory grief, if we've heard of Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, sadness. Yes, all of those 5 stages were meant only for anticipatory grief. They were actually not meant for after the loss. They were meant for anticipatory grief. And you can experience all of those emotions all at once as you are anticipating the loss of your person. And I like to describe it as a roller coaster, as you're going up the roller coaster slowly, depending on the decline of your person. And the more you go up that roller coaster, the more intense it gets. So it's like, oh my gosh, these feelings are just getting worse and worse and worse and worse as you get closer to the day that your person dies. And then that's one stage, one phase, which is anticipatory grief. The next stage is at the top of the roller coaster, and it's called acute grief, the most painful. And in that top of the roller coaster, people are feeling numbness, shock, confusion, denial, anger, guilt. Those are usually the most common emotions that people feel, and sadness. But it's a state of confusion. You're not fully in acceptance yet. You might analytically say, okay, they died, but emotionally and psychologically, we're not there yet. And so now we're coming into the acute stage and we're mourning the loss of our person. So mourning, right? And once we start coming down from the intense of like survival mode, flight, freeze, fawn, we start coming down. It's almost the adrenaline rush is at the top of the roller coaster, and then they start coming down from that roller coaster very slowly. And people have their own timing with this because everyone's different and everyone grieves differently. They start coming down from that roller coaster slowly, and then they are confronted with an ocean, which I like to describe the ocean of grief. And this ocean of grief is full of waves. And ones are bigger than others, more intense, less intense. Ones come in 1 minute, you're okay. The next minute, you're bawling your eyeballs out. You're crying like uncontrollably. And the next second, you're okay again. And then those are the waves of grief. I call those the waves of grief. You start coming down from the roller coaster and you start feeling all the waves of grief. I say the top of that roller coaster, usually, as I've seen it over the course of time, it's like a 2 week to 6 months or more coming down from that roller coaster. And the waves of grief start coming in when the dust settles. Someone described it like that. When the dust settles, everyone leaves. There's no more funeral. We went through the funeral. You're alone in your house. You gave yourself a break. And in that break, you have a wave of grief. In the moments that we're still, in the moments there's complete silence, in the moments where we're about to sleep, or in the moments that are most quiet, we feel the waves of grief. Because it's the time where your brain is finally saying, oh my goodness, your person has died. And in that process, some people really do feel the waves of grief, and it's very intense for some people. And that's the most painful. And the year is the year of first. Everything's the first time again. The first birthday, the first anniversary, the first day to go to the supermarket again without their person, the first time you get in a road, the first time you go in an airplane, the first time you do something without your person. And that first year is the year of first. What I like to remind people is that the first year doesn't have to be the same as the second year. It could be different. And that's what I usually see in grief, how grief changes over time. And also the way you cope changes over time. Some things that you do at the beginning to help you cope, like talk to your person out loud, wear their clothes, sleep on their side of the bed. I don't know. A lot of people do different things. Some of them are talking out loud. Some of them are screaming. Like, there's so many ways of coping. And you're not crazy, by the way, because these are all things that happen. And over the course of time, people start realizing that those things, some of those things don't serve them anymore. And they start changing the way they cope about their grief. And it's different for everyone. So everyone has their own way of how to grieve their person.
The visual that I got, and I really love the roller coaster illustration because it brought me back to this past, well, maybe like a few months ago when I went to SeaWorld. And I went on different roller coasters. Each of the experiences were different, but they were all met with that initial incline and that build up, the anticipation for the ride itself. But then as you actually went through the ride, you'll notice that there's nuances and distinctions between each of them. Some of them have really big upside down loops. Some of them turn sideways. Some of them drop even further. And then it rises and it falls and it twists and it turns, and they all had something different to them. So it makes me think of, it's like maybe if right with this, grief is shaped in a similar fashion where
Absolutely.
the roller coaster is different between different people. Those ups and downs are going to be different. Those downs could be further. The speeds could be different. There's distinctions and nuances. and it's all influenced by the way they responded to that change.
Absolutely. So I like to say that, yes, exactly. Grief is like a doodle. It's 6 steps forward, 4 steps back. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. 6 steps forward, 5 steps back. But if you keep count of those steps, you're actually always taking a step forward. Even if you feel like you had a setback. Even if you feel like the anniversary came through and you had a really hard time, because the anniversary is a thing. You get some acute grief at the anniversary, and it's a very common response. Same with, like, there's a thing with the supermarket. Supermarket is the thing. So if going to the supermarket is a hard thing, it's normal to have a hard experience at the supermarket. People have breakdowns at the supermarket.
Right.
And yes, it's 5 steps forward, 4 steps back, and it's up and down, up and down, up and down. But what I can tell you is that there is healing, there is recovery. What does that look like? There's nothing to reach, there's nothing to fix, but the change of grief is what feels different over time.
Right, and I could imagine it's also influenced by how important that person was
Absolutely, the
within that
relationship.
routine. So it's like the person breaking down at the supermarket. I'm wondering if their significant other or their person was the one that came up with the list.
Absolutely.
That's the one that gave input into, hey, we're going to grab this, we're going to grab this. And now that list isn't there, or they have to do it on their own. But the moment they try to do it, it reminds them of that person.
It's triggers. Yeah, that's very common with spouse loss, and it's very common with parent loss, because if you were taking care of a parent, you did the grocery shopping. If you were taking care of your spouse, you did the grocery shopping. So it's a lot for caregivers. Same with child loss. You know, you took care of a child, you did the grocery shopping for it. And it's this piece of what I would say about mainly the supermarket is to give yourself some grace and space and a break. And if you need to get some support or have someone support you in that process, please do. And it doesn't have to be a full hour in the supermarket. It could be 5 minutes in and out. And then over time, you change that time. You start at 5, you give yourself 5 more minutes next time, and you slowly work your way into the supermarket again, if that's something that you want to do, right? Some people delegate the supermarket. Some people order online, you know, and avoid the supermarket. And that's okay.
Why we have Uber Eats, and that's why we have these other apps.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Easier.
Yeah, but it's also, you mentioned it, the relationship. I think the relationship plays a huge role in the different triggers that people have in grief. And there's a huge piece of identity, I think, when we lose someone too. I say loss and grief brings us this awareness about who we are, how we want to live our lives, what we need, what we want. And I hate to describe it this way, but it's a bit of a slap in the face. It's learning how to live your life to the fullest, because now we realize that life is not permanent, that it's temporary, that death does exist. And then when we have that awareness, now we really start living the way we want to live.
Living more present in a way.
More present.
And what I think about also is sometimes there are moments where we want to be able to tell our story with that person, because you envision a life together, having children, growing old, buying an acre of land, just an entire vision for what the future could be, for that future to only be stripped and ripped away from you.
Yes.
And then you're confronted with that fragility of life, and that reminder that it's like death is always looming, but it isn't always evident because of that, sometimes of that avoidance where we don't want to look in that direction, because it reminds us of how quickly we can lose something.
Yeah, it brings us into radical presence of being fully present in the here and now. You can plan a lot of things, but planning doesn't necessarily guarantee you
Mm-hmm.
that thing. And so a lot of it brings us back to, wow, like I really need to do things now. Yeah, we can plan as much as we can, but at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, we need to do them now. We need to be present. We need to live.
It's never, it doesn't have to be either or, it's yes and, where we can live in the present, but then we can also ponder our future and set things aside and store something up to the side. Because there's like, I think it's a passage in the Bible where it talks about where there was this person that was essentially storing up all their possessions in this farmhouse, and when that barn was filled to the fullest, they decided to build another one to store even more possessions. And this person kept on storing and building, but then God was from a distance saying, this person doesn't even know that he's going to lose his life today. So all this storing for a future that never came,
Yeah.
and how there could be a vanity in that, but in a similar form of wisdom, there's also this, it's like, yes, consider your steps, consider your future, but like you say, it's like, don't let it strip you away from the present.
Yeah. And like that, there's a lot of people that planned, planned, planned,
I mean,
planned,
how many people have a 401k
Yeah.
or some kind of retirement
and
program?
and it didn't get to that point. So it just brings into that attention into the now. And it's a hard one because again, you never know when that day will come.
Mm-hmm.
So why not live it now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Say the things you need to say. Hug the people you need to hug.
Mm-hmm.
Develop the relationship that you need to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive who you want to forgive. That's another one. People keep a lot of secrets with other people. Say the things you need to say to that person. Don't keep the secret, I've seen that a lot where it was like, I didn't know about this. I didn't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, communicate. Tell the people what you need to tell. Like that relationship. Tell that relationship what you need to say. Don't keep a secret. Yeah, it takes us back to radical presence.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So I think in this process, me as a bereavement especially, I have learned a lot to stay present and live fully in the now. Yeah.
So, what's a good take-home message for everyone watching this?
Well, I realized that over the amount of cases that I've had, I've realized that everyone has a skill or a gift or a talent. And a lot of people ignore those things. Like the living person, I found that a lot of people have ignored themselves or didn't really embrace those skills, those talents, those gifts. And they come towards the end of life and their person has died. And they realize that they've had all of these gifts or talents or skills that they've never engaged with or engaged in. And they realize that now is the time. So what I like to tell people is that you don't have to wait until the end of life or towards the end of life or until someone dies to engage in those skills and in those gifts and in those talents that you have. That you can do that sooner if you can do it sooner. That if something truly brings you joy and you know that it will, do that thing. Don't wait until you're old, or can't do it anymore, or you think you're going to do it and you never do it. Like, do it now. And even if you're older and you know you learn those skills, still do them.
Yeah.
Still do them. Because those are the things that will bring more joy to our lives. Those are the things that bring us more presence. Those are the things that will stimulate, make us creative. Maybe even support others in our own journey of grief. You know, by using those skills, we are able to support others or support your community in some way. And people do that with all kinds of gifts and talents and skills. And so don't wait until the end to use all of that. I think that would be my takeaway from all of this.
I love that idea of not waiting, because I think there are moments where we look in hindsight of the things we could have done if we were only willing to take action, because sometimes it's hard to do what it is we really want to do because we could be distracted. There are obstacles that are keeping us from doing those things.
Yeah.
So all that adds up over time, though, and that's something we can never recuperate because it's the only commodity that we truly have. So I guess my takeaway is we don't want to have any regrets. And we want to live in a way where we won't have any.
Also, take the opportunities that are presented to you. A lot of the times, people are blinded by fear. And I think the fear doesn't come from that thing. It comes from you. It comes from that person. That person creates the fear in themselves. And a lot of the times the fear blinds people. And it doesn't allow people, like I like to visualize it like a chair. You have the chair of opportunity. And you're blinded by fear. And fear doesn't let you sit in that chair. And if we allow fear to intervene, we will never sit in that chair of opportunity. So a lot of it has to do with working towards acknowledging the fear and working through the fear to sit on that chair. Like, build yourself up with courage and bravery and take the courage, like the opportunity, and sit on the chair. Because the only way you will know if that opportunity is for you is if you sit on it, if you sit on the chair. Not give it away to someone else, because that's a lot of people do that. Oh, I have this opportunity. You want it? And it's your opportunity, and you gave it to someone else. It's like, no. You got presented with that opportunity. Are you going to sit on it, or are you going to give it to someone else?
I think we found another topic. We found another topic to explore.
Absolutely.
Because I think fear is one of those topics that, one, makes us fearful, but two, it's also intriguing to us.
But see, the time ticks. Time ticks. 1 year passes, 2 year passes, 3 year passes, 4 years pass, and you keep on allowing for fear to be there. And it's like,
let's take some time to break that down. Maybe not tonight, but for a future.
Yes, exactly.
Future
so, I mean, my whole point is working towards that fear and sitting on the chair, because that's the only way you'll know if something's going to support you or not support you, right, in your journey. And time is a factor, so doing it now.
I love that.
Yes. So thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope I was able to answer some questions on grief.
It clarified it.
I know I don't have anything fully on grief, and I think this is going to be the first one. So I'm excited to share this with everyone. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll have a part 2 of our other video soon.
We're going to add that to the queue of different things that we want to record.
Exactly. So thank you so much for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.
You.